Council of Tuesday, October 20th, 2020 to order. Roll call, Madam Clerk.
Councilmember Mosby.
Present.
Councilmember Starbuck.
Present.
Councilmember Vega.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Gilda Cordova.
Present.
Mayor Janelle Osborne.
Here. Please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So for those listening at home, just an update. Our streaming equipment has failed, and although we have approved and are purchasing new equipment, it will not be functioning till hopefully the end of November. So tonight you can access the meeting through Comcast Channel 23 or on the radio at KPEG 100.9 FM, and we apologize that the streaming is not available. The City Council chambers are also open, so you are welcome to come down for public comment and participation with social distancing and facial coverings. Presentation, the County of Santa Barbara Housing and Community Development and Behavioral Wellness Department to provide an update on the low-income housing project Home Key to be located at 117 North B Street, Lompoc.
Mayor, before we get started on this item, Councilmember Mosby does own property within 500 feet of this parcel. So he's going to recuse himself in case of a potential conflict, but because it does affect his personal interest, the property he owns, he can participate or watch in the audience as a member of the public.
Thank you for that clarification.
I'm going to say thank you, Mayor and Council. We do have a presentation night. We're trying to coordinate here real quick with the calls because we have one number, but we have a couple people that need to discuss. So give us one moment.
Good evening, you're on the line in the City Council chambers. Please go ahead with your presentation.
Okay. Good evening, Mayor and members of City Council. My name is Dinah Lockhart, and I am the Deputy Director of the county's Housing and Community Development Division. And I apologize for not being there in person, but I am watching this right now live from home. I'm here tonight with my colleagues John Polanski with the Housing Authority of Santa Barbara County and Natalia Rossi, who is also going to be calling in, and she is with the County Behavioral Wellness Department. And we are here to provide a brief presentation on the B Street Home Key Development Project. If we can go to slide number 2, please. Okay, thank you. In response to the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, the state made $600 million available for housing persons experiencing homelessness. The funding was made up of coronavirus relief funds and the state general funds. The notice of funding availability for this funding was released in July, with first priority applications due by August. The timeline to close escrow and expend these funds is December 30th, 2020. The state made funding available by geographic region. So Santa Barbara County was competing for almost $22 million that was set aside for the Central Coast region, which included 4 other counties. The Home Key program is designed to purchase motels or other buildings for conversion to housing. The state first thought of using motels back in April 2020 under Project Room Key, which was an innovative partnership with FEMA to pay for hotel and motel rooms for homeless individuals if they met high-risk health criteria. The Room Key program's success led to the Home Key program. The county began discussions in late June with the city and county housing authorities to identify motels or other properties for sale so that an application could be submitted for this funding. Eventually, 3 applications from the Santa Barbara County region were submitted to the state, but ultimately, only the B Street site was available and selected by the state for Home Key funding. If we can go to slide 3. Because of federal deadlines, which are requiring the expenditures of CARES Act funding by the end of the year, the state's Home Key program is truly moving at light speed. The Home Key NOFA was released in July, applications due back to the state in August, the Board of Supervisors approving the sale of the B Street building to the Housing Authority in September, and renovation work in October, all in order to expand these Home Key funding sources and have the units occupied by December 30th, 2020. We can go to the next slide. So as I mentioned earlier, the B Street site was selected by the state for funding. The county's behavioral wellness clinic and staff have since moved to the Champion Center, so the timing of the renovation work was a perfect fit. You can go to slide 5. Okay. So this is just a brief summary of the project, and I know John Polanski will go into more detail. The project consists of 15 units, which includes 1 on-site resident manager and studio units for 14 residents. Residents will be either experiencing homelessness and who are at higher risk for COVID-19 because of chronic illness and poor health. Supportive services will be provided on site. We can go to slide 6. And I just wanted to showcase a few examples of new developments for homeless and special needs community residents that are being built throughout Santa Barbara County. For example, residents at Depot, an 80-unit development in Santa Maria, West Cox Cottages, which will provide 30 units in Santa Maria. Both developments are being developed by the County Housing Authority. Gardens on Hope in Santa Barbara, which is 89 units for homeless and special needs residents. And Johnson Court, a 16-unit development for formerly homeless veterans, which is developed by the City Housing Authority. These are all well-designed projects which are compatible with the community, and the B Street Home Key project will also be an attractive asset to the community. And with that, I conclude my presentation.
So next, we'll have John, go ahead and go up.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the council. Hopefully you can hear me okay. My name is John Polanski, Director of Housing Development with the Housing Authority of the County of Santa Barbara. And I'm here primarily to answer any questions, but I will give a little bit of additional information to what Dinah Lockhart gave. First, in the development name, we always start with a working name that's very creative, and it typically is the street that the development is on. So it is no longer called the B Street development. It is now Home Key Studios, is what we thought, recognizing this one-time funding source, and then the fact that it's a modest development for folks currently experiencing or at risk of homelessness. A little bit of the money that this is bringing into the city from the state, it's CARES Act funding, as Dinah mentioned. The CARES Act portion from the state, from that $600 million, is just shy of $2.6 million. in CARES Act funding. And then there's an additional amount, a little bit over $400,000 in rental subsidy that will carry the $1,000 a month for each of the units through June 30th of 2022. In addition to that, a county match was required. So there's CARES Act money coming that came to the county that's flowing to this development in the city of $1.467 million, so a little bit shy of $1.5 million. What this will end up doing is housing 14 individuals currently experiencing or at risk of homelessness within the Lompoc area. And the reason I can say that is that the Department of Behavioral Wellness, who vacated the property so that we could come in and rehabilitate it to studio units, are the ones referring the individuals. And it's folks that they're already serving here in the city of Lompoc. So it's really a great cohesive, the support services that they're doing will only be expanded and delivered at the site. And there will be a resident manager, even though 16 units is the baseline for requiring a resident manager. With the 15 units, with people coming out of homelessness or at risk, we thought it would be really important to have a stabilizing presence on the site. And so, as always is the case with the Housing Authority of the County of Santa Barbara's developments, this resident manager will be hired by us, will be a Housing Authority employee, and will report to the Housing Authority. And with that, I did bring a set of plans. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get them into a PowerPoint because I just got these. But I think what I'll do is I'll leave these with Jim, your city manager, for anybody that would care to look at them in a socially distanced way. But I think many of you are familiar with the property itself. It's 2 stories. It's been owned by County Department of Behavioral Wellness for quite some time. And so this seemed like a really good opportunity to utilize funding from outside of the city to provide housing for 14 individuals who currently don't have it. And again, with that, I'll entertain any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Polanski? Seeing none, thank you.
I really appreciate the time and the opportunity. Thank you.
Appreciate
And
you.
everybody knows where to reach me. Just one other really quick thing, if I could. We'll be housing these individuals during the holiday season. In fact, probably just a few days before Christmas. So what I'd like to do is to get out to the community residents, to the faith community, who have been really supportive of other developments that we've done throughout the county. We typically do a more robust adopt a room, adopt a person, adopt a home campaign. With COVID, we've been a little hamstrung in how to get out and about. Community meetings aren't really being held. And so I actually really wanted to take this opportunity, and I appreciate the indulgence, to just let people know if they would like to inquire about how they could help these individuals. We have found a way to provide basic furnishings through the Home Key program. It's additional state money coming in, but these are just basic things. And as we all know, the individuals will be housing, all of their belongings are things they can carry or push in a cart, and that's pretty much what they come with. So while they'll have a bed and a table and chairs and some basic things, kitchen equipment, because we try to get people into doing healthy cooking, towels and personal items are going to be really, really important for the folks. And again, during the holiday season, it would be really terrific if we could get some community members of the faith community, members of the business community. So please contact me, John Polanski, at the Housing Authority, County of Santa Barbara. We're 815 West Ocean. Number to reach me at, let's keep slipping, is 805-736-3423. My direct extension is 4003. Or please email me. Let me spell my first and last name. It is JohnPolanski SKEY, at Hasbarco, that's HAS, B as in boy, ARCO.org. Or you can contact folks here at the city because they also know how to reach me. And I really appreciate the time. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have a final presentation for mental health?
They're on the phone if you had questions.
Do we have any questions for mental health? Councilmember Cordova.
I just had a general question. I thought of it after Mr. Polanski asked. Are the 14 housing units, are they going to be specific for residents in Lompoc, or will it be eligible for anybody within the county of Santa Barbara to apply for these?
Thank you very much. Through the mayor, Councilmember Cordova. There is fair housing law that dictates how we have to accept applications and house people. In this particular case, though, since it's important that the support services be tied to the individuals when they come in so they'll be successful in housing, and because this was a Department of Behavioral Wellness building, all the referrals are coming through Department of Behavioral Wellness. So what they have done is they've started with the folks who already are here, being served in the city of Lompoc, but just not housed. And so that's the continuation of this support service. So the initial applications that are coming in reasonably are the ones that are coming in from folks already here in the city being served by Be Well in the city, and again, who have a connection. And I think when I speak with community groups about people experiencing homelessness, the fact that they are unhoused doesn't mean they don't identify with the community. And you have individuals who are here unhoused in and around the city of Lompoc who closely identify with this community and will only accept housing if it's in the city of Lompoc. Those are the people that we are looking to serve. The referrals that have come in so far are people currently being served here in the city of Lompoc.
Thank you.
And Mayor, we're going to try and get the behavioral wellness transferred over, see if she has any comments.
Okay.
Good evening, you're live in the Lompoc City Council chambers, and we'll see if there are any questions. Or a comment, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm Natalia Rossi. I'm a program coordinator with the Department of Behavioral Wellness. We are really excited to provide supportive services for this project, and we've had some really great partners with Community Services and Development and the Housing Authority, and this project has really come together remarkably fast, and we're excited. Any questions for our department?
Any questions for the mental health department? Seeing none, thank you. Thank you all for your presentations. Really appreciate the information being provided. And if there are no questions, we will move on to the next item. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Councilmember Mosby is welcome to return to the dais. City manager report, please.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I have a few more good news things going on tonight. I'd like to bring those forward as much as possible. So the carpet at the library, the new carpet project, it's done. It looks great, and they're now beginning the process of moving all of the books and the stacks and the furniture back in place. So we'll have it ready to go once we're allowed to open back up. Also with the library, we've also received 3 different grants recently: a $1,000 Walmart grant for programming expenses, $6,300 California State Library grant for books and crafts for school-age children, a $5,000 California State grant for ebooks and audiobooks, and then this one is the Friends of the Library received a donation of $100,000 from a resident who bequeathed the funds to help with the library. So that was pretty impressive. The census also has officially ended. It's gone on for quite some time, but it was very successful. We had a number of people here helping with it, not only in-house, but staff also working at night times, going around knocking on doors, helping get people signed up. But we also had many outside in the community doing that. So the 2020 census concluded on October 15th, and we're proud to report that Lompoc had an impressive final self-response rate of 72.9%. This surpasses Santa Barbara County's self-response rate of 71.8%. The California self-response rate was only 69.6%, and the U.S. self-response rate was 66.9%. So we do need a hand for everybody for all the work that they did to get out there and get the people to enter the census information. In addition, Lompoc has surpassed its 2010 self-response rate during the last census, which was 68.5%. So we did see, it sounds like a little bit, but it was actually a very substantial increase. So thank you to the Lompoc community for helping ensure Lompoc will have access to the resources we need. But I also, again, as I said earlier, I want to thank everyone who walked the neighborhoods, knocked on doors to encourage and assist those people taking the census. It will help us out in the long run. Fire department, the crew on the brush truck returned from Northern California safely after 8 weeks of consecutive deployment, and we're hopeful the fire activity slows down throughout the state. To date, there's been over 7,000 wildfires throughout the state, totaling over 1.4 million plus acres burned. Sadly, 9,200 plus structures have been destroyed. 31 of those, we had 31 fatalities and 37 injuries. We're grateful that our city department is able to help those in the time of need. And the department was also successful in receiving a PPE, which is, I think everyone knows that these days, a personal protective equipment grant totaling $24,000. Going on to more grants and more good things, the community meetings are underway for Prop 68 grant funding for a college park redesign. That's where the skate park is, over by the pool and the YMCA. With the community's input, the city hopes to redesign and fund a brand new community and skate park at the College Park site. So far, nearly 40 community members have participated in the community meetings, with 3 virtual meetings left to go. This past weekend, the city hosted a health, safe, on-site community meeting at College Park that was well attended. Old and young, a lot of the skaters, I don't know all the terms. I had the old skateboards, but they were out there talking about all the nice things that could be added to the park. It drew a lot of great ideas and feedback from the community. We encourage residents to visit our College Park webpage. It's on our city website for more information. A College Park survey is also available on that same page. Give us your input as what you would like to see out there in the park. More on that. Beatty Park, which we received some grant funding to put in, that project, we're still looking at a mid-November completion on the new playground equipment. The only thing might be slightly delayed is the new shelter portion that's going in. We're waiting on some revisions from the engineer. Election polling site, the Dick DeWeese Community and Senior Center, we're having from October 31st to November 3rd as a polling site, so just remember you can go there. And last, there will be a blood drive on November 12th at the Anderson Rec Center, and we'll have more information on that on the website as we can get that. And that is the end of my report for tonight.
Any questions for the city manager? Seeing none, we'll move on to consent calendar. We will open the floor for public comment on consent calendar items. If you would like to comment on consent calendar, you may call 805-875-8201, 805-875-8201, and remember to mute your radio or TV when your call is put through. You will have 3 minutes to speak on any consent calendar item. The floor is now open in room for consent calendar. If anyone in the room would like to speak to the consent calendar item. Again, the phone number to call is 805-875-8201, 805-875-8201. Were there any written communications on consent calendar?
No, ma'am.
Thank you. Seeing no one rise to the podium or calling in, we will close public comment on consent calendar, and I will entertain a motion. Councilmember Starbuck.
I'll go ahead and move we accept the consent calendar.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any questions? Let's vote. And that passes 5-0. We will now have a staff presentation from Management Services Director Dean Albro, provide an update on the impact fee study.
So August 18th, we brought to you guys the Development Impact Fee Nexus Report and the Master Facilities Plan. The direction from council was to bring it back this evening. I think that the direction was trying to get the input from the committees, commissions, and the public. We didn't really get too much information because we're still locked down. We got some clarification, some wording from the library. That being said, I'm going to turn it over to you guys and give me direction on what you'd like me to do with this report.
Any questions, comments? Councilmember Mosby.
So I was able to attend the Park Commission meeting here, and I know they're working on their 6-year capital improvement plan. And while they're not totally connected, they are connected. And I think the public is just now realizing that the meetings are still open. So I think we need a little more time on this for the public to be able to realize what's going on so that they can be part of this as well.
Yeah.
Any other questions? So I think it's the ongoing need to gather more information and be able to provide full feedback. So let us know how we can help promote any of those public discussions, and we'll help get the message out.
Okay, I'll return.
Thank you. We will now open the floor for oral communications. This can be any matter before the city, either on the agenda or of the city's responsibility. You have 3 minutes maximum. If you would like to call in, your number to call is 805-875-8201. Remember to mute your radio or TV if your call is put through. And we'll go ahead and start with in-room commentary.
Good evening, council members. John Lynn, Lompoc resident. Some thoughts on the impact fee study. At the Utility Commission the other night, we voted to have a special meeting so we could talk about this before you guys were going to act on it, so I guess won't have to have that. First, I want to thank Dean for bringing this forward, which, by my recollection, Councilmember Starbuck asked for 10 years ago. Here's a couple thoughts. There are some issues with the way the study was done. It seems like it was kind of a look at how we could charge the most money for the most things. So as an example, the Central Avenue extension, which the Lompoc City Council in about 2012 chose to do away with, is back on the table. Well number 10 seems to have found, well number 9, I guess it's number 10, it seems to have found its way back on, even though both the Utility Commission and the utility staff didn't want it. If I read it correctly, the South Side Place sewer lines are on there, but as they serve existing homes, I can't imagine how that would work out. And probably my favorite is the new group of proposed traffic signals on A Street. You'll remember that the old plan, we had a whole set of traffic signals that were going to go in on O Street that we've been charging people for, none of which have ever been built. Both of these streets are in fully developed areas, so it's pretty unlikely that the intersection are going to have impacts that will require a signal. So, in the past, we've lost a lot of developments because of excessive impact fees, particularly the street impact fee. I don't think we want to repeat that error. We need to move forward with reasonable impact fees, and I think holding one or more workshops would be a reasonable way, and ask each of the committees and commissions to come in and talk about their responsibilities. With regard to the Utility Commission, the handbook says that we need to review these things before they come to you. So let's not make the mistake of our current plan and just approve it and see how much economic damage it can do in the next 20 years. Let's take the time and do it right, and I know you will. Just so I don't have to walk up here again, I strongly support the staff position on the, assessment district for wineries. What's proposed is not for Lompoc. Thank you.
Thank you. The number to call is 805-875-8201, 805-875-8201, and remember to mute your radio or TV.
Eva. Good evening. You're live in the Lompoc City Council meeting. You have 3 minutes to provide public comment.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. This is Eva Blaisdell, CEO of California Space Center, calling in from Los Angeles, California with my team. First of all, I want to wish Lompoc community a successful and decisive voting for the right mayor and the right city council, which has resolve, courage, capability, and knowledge to take Lompoc beyond boutiques, restaurants, and wineries who are important, but not sufficient to grow Lompoc to its potential of being a space economy player. Some of you remember my quest, supported by 10 American corporations who committed to me and you to work with the previous city mayor and the council to bring to Lompoc California Space Center. The negotiations were abruptly terminated illegally, and with a disenchantment and lack of belief in the stewardship of city of Lompoc, we decided to leave you alone. However, I never left Lompoc community. We've been investing in working with children, youth, and you might probably not know that Lompoc gained international recognition and award from the State Department and international American corporations for the work of its youth, Susan Copeland, Boys and Girls Club, in endeavoring education of the young Lompocians so they can get jobs in technology and not only in service industries. Today, I am bringing back and informing you formally that after hearing your debate about 2 weeks ago, when I was visiting Lompoc, I visit Lompoc on a regular basis with a lot of visitors, we decided, and I concurred, to return to California Space Center plan, and I am asking you formally to comply with the decision of the District Attorney of Santa Barbara that the previous mayor and the city council illegally terminated my opportunity to deliver $150 million and corporate goodwill and plan for development of California Space Center. I want you to cure this situation before November 3rd by starting in a goodwill negotiations to return California Space Center. It became very obvious to me that you do not have budget, relationships, experience, or capabilities to bring to Lompoc what's now being generously given by Governor, by Tom Steyer, who should be already meeting with you, Madam Mayor, and many others who command billions of dollars with resources for the cities like yours.
Thank you for your call. Your 3 minutes are up.
I expect you to get back to me as soon as possible.
Your time is up. Thank you for your comment.
I am looking forward to your response.
Were there any written oral communications? Oh, in room, please.
Hello. Let's see here. Hi, everyone. Good evening, Madam Mayor, City Council members. I just wanted to start it off by saying how encouraged I am by the City Manager's report and the great things that are happening with the library. It's very encouraging to hear those reports. So I come to you as a concerned citizen, and what I'm concerned about is the level of litter and trash accumulating in our community. Litter has an insidious effect, we know that. I see it along our highway and vacant lots, around the perimeter of businesses and in our neighborhoods. Matter of fact, just yesterday I noticed what appeared to be an abandoned, broken down vehicle in the Wendy's parking lot next to the vacant restaurant.
Need you to speak into the microphone because we're
Okay.
transmitting.
In the Wendy's parking lot next to the vacant restaurant there. Now driving by, it's vandalized. The windows are broken out, the hood is up. So as you see, that's just an example of the deleterious effects of litter and trash in our community. The causes, as we know, are many and complicated. Homelessness, reoccupation of the camps in the riverbed, in our reserve and our preserves. As a volunteer with Adopt a Highway, and as one who often takes walks and picks up trash, I see the difference that efforts can make. Last weekend, our Adopt a Highway group collected 19 bags of trash. Many are well aware of the research around the positive health and environmental effects of a clean community. There are solutions: more trash cans in public spaces, PSAs about securing trash in vehicles, signs about keeping our community clean, reminders to businesses and commercial landlords to maintain their property, and community campaigns to keep our neighborhoods clean. Perhaps those campaigning for office who post signs around communities can take a trash bag and pick up the surrounding areas. Maybe when they take down their signs, they could do the same. When I tell people where I live, I often hear, Lompoc has potential. Let's reach our potential. Thank you. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. The floor is still open for general oral communications. The number to call is 805-875-8201, 805-875-8201. Written communications.
Yes, ma'am. We received written communications from Mr. Ron Fink and Mr. John Lynn. They were printed and provided out front, posted on the website, and provided to council and staff.
Thank you.
Welcome.
And final call for calls is 805-875-8201, 805-875-8201. Seeing no one call in, we'll close oral communications and move on to agenda item number 6, the adoption of resolution opposing inclusion of Lompoc in the Santa Barbara County Wine Business Improvement District. And we will have our City Attorney, Jeff Malave, make the presentation.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight we're here because at the last council meeting on October 6th, Mrs. Kathleen Griffith of Flying Goat Cellars came to council and requested this agenda item, and the council subsequently did. Councilmember Mosby requested that it be placed on the agenda tonight. This is an item that relates to a proposal that's being put forth in the county right now by a nonprofit organization called the Santa Barbara County Vintners. The mission of that organization is to promote the Santa Barbara County wine industry through marketing and education. And what they are requesting that the County of Santa Barbara create is something called a Business Improvement District, or a BID, for the wine business in Santa Barbara County. Under their current proposal, their BID, the Business Improvement District, would assess a 1% fee on all direct-to-consumer wine sales in the county of Santa Barbara that incur California sales tax. So this would be a 1% fee that's passed on to the consumer of all wine products in Santa Barbara County that incur California sales tax. So this includes sales of wine, tasting fees, merchandise, and food sold in tasting rooms, wine events, and wine clubs. They are requesting that the county board of supervisors create this business improvement district, and there is a state law that states a business improvement district cannot apply, so the 1% fee cannot apply within the city limits of Lompoc unless the city council of Lompoc has first given its consent or permission to have the business improvement district apply within our city limits. The Vintners nonprofit group presented their proposed business improvement district to the county in August, just as an informational item. The county has not formally taken it up yet on a board of supervisors agenda, but according to the Vintners website, the plan for that is to occur sometime in November or December of this year. They then also plan to come to each individual city council within the county to request permission for the bid to apply in each city in November or December 2020. Again, that's according to the Vintners website. And in all the jurisdictions that give their permission, the Business Improvement District will apply to wine sales within those jurisdictions beginning in the first quarter of 2021, according to their schedule. So what this item is tonight is to preemptively inform the county that the city of Lompoc is not interested in supporting the wine bid and is not interested in giving its consent to have the wine bid apply within our city limits. This is consistent with the request that was made by Kathleen Griffith. You have that as attachment 2 to your staff report. She has I'm going to call it a petition here, by a number of wineries. It's been signed by a number of wineries in opposition to the bid. And so that's why the resolution in front of you tonight has been set up to oppose the bid. But of course, that's up to the council whether you'd like to oppose or support it. And then I've also included as an attachment to the staff report some of the promotional materials from the Vintners nonprofit group, which is the very last page in the staff report, and it explains what the bid is about, what its purposes are. They do state that they will use the money to promote the Santa Barbara County wine industry. At the very, very end of the last page is a pie chart that shows what they propose to use the funds collected for. The bottom there. App development, 1.5%, visitor center, 8.7%, public relations firm, 4.8%, social media, 4.8%, marketing materials, 8.5%, digital advertising, 10.2%, marketing agency, 11.4%, overhead and reserve, 18.6%, and salaries of the nonprofit, 27.9% of their funds collected. And they do plan to collect $1 million in fees from those 1% assessments during the first year of the bid being in operation. So the staff report is to consider the resolution and whether you'd like to adopt it. And that concludes, the staff recommendation is to consider the resolution, whether you'd like to adopt it. And that does conclude the staff report. I'm available for questions.
Any questions for Mr. Malave? Councilmember Cordova.
Is there a requirement for a percent of all the wineries or in tasting rooms within the city limits to agree to oppose it in order for the city to formally want to oppose it, or there is no requirement for a majority?
No, it's the city council's decision whether you would like the wineries within the city limits to be assessed.
It is, Councilmember Cordova, it is a little different from the hotel version that you're used to.
Thank you.
And my understanding is at the county level, they've designed a weighted approval level, not everyone has an equal vote. It's based on a weighted approval level to get to their 51%. And so I think that's part of our local vintners' disagreement, is that they don't feel there's an equal voice and an equal use of the funds. But
That may be.
I will leave that for those that are here to clarify. Any other questions for our city attorney before we open for public comment? Seeing none, thank you. We will open the floor for public comment on this item. The number to call is 805-875-8201, 805-875-8201. And remember to mute your radio or TV when your call is put through. And we'll begin with in-room commentary.
Good evening, Mayor and members of City Council. My name is Norm Yost. I'm the owner and winemaker of Flying Goat Cellars. My wife, Kate Griffith, had presented to the council 2 weeks ago the resolution to opposing the Santa Barbara wine bid. Unfortunately, Kate had to attend a family business in Florida and is unable to attend the meeting this evening. The Santa Barbara wine bid is an ill-advised plan and poorly devised assessment that we can't afford as a small business here in Lompoc. Currently, we're already charging our customers the 8.57% Lompoc tax. The 1% increase proposed by the wine bid would change the rate to 9.75%. This is unacceptable for a small winery such as ours, especially during these economic uncertainty in California due to the pandemic. Many wineries in this area have suffered dramatic loss in wholesale revenue due to the closure of wine bars, restaurants, and retail shops. These closures have occurred in Santa Barbara County and across the state because of the government shutdown. Now more than ever, wineries rely on the tasting room revenue to make up the loss for the wholesale revenue. Adding a 1% sales tax would not be advisable this time. We want to encourage wine customers to come and visit Lompoc and enjoy the wines here. Thank you.
Thank you. The number to call is 805-875-8201, 805-875-8201.
Good evening. I'm Rebecca Work. My husband, Peter, and I own Ampelos Cellars, and we're totally opposed to this. First off, this kind of assessment has never been done in any other region in the United States. That effect and the reaction of the direct-to-consumers will probably not be very happy about it. And we're going to end up losing them to Paso. The other thing is, as small wineries, our direct-to-consumer sales for us, for example, is about 70% of our business. So the wholesale is really small. It's the big wineries that are going to gain from it because their wholesale is very large and they're not going to have to pay it. But they'll be able to get all of the marketing as, advertisements that we won't really be able to get the advantage of. The other thing is, it's not simply a matter of saying we're going to charge the consumer a 1% fee. The system that we use, I have no way of implementing that. And therefore, we'll be paying it directly. I can't raise my prices on our wines at this point. So it'll be another extra fee that we're paying on top of all the other things we're paying. So I really hope you consider not opting in. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. My name's Steve Pepe, Cole Pepe Vineyards. I'm here to support the staff's recommendation and the way they've written the ordinance, the request. I won't reiterate what's in the staff report or what has already been said by my other colleagues. I would point out that this is not unusual for the city of Lompoc to do. I had the privilege and honor to be on the Economic Development Committee for 4 years, and if my memory's right, during Mayor Lynn's term, we did a resolution to the Santa Barbara Superior Court regarding the composition of the civil grand jury and how it was conducted. And if my memory is still good, during Mayor Lingel's time, we did a resolution to the Board of Supervisors regarding the proposed winery ordinance, which was to oppose it. We then took that resolution, and it passed here 5-0. And we took that resolution to Solvang, where it passed 3-1. We then went to Buellton, where the county put on a full court press against us, but it still passed 3-2. So the overall of the 3 cities was 11-3 against the winery ordinance. And as you're aware, after 4 years and lots of meetings and a couple $1 million, that ordinance was not approved. It was voted down 3-2. So as Lompoc took the leadership on the winery ordinance, I would hope you take the same leadership and pass the staff's recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you. The number to call is 805-875-8201, 805-875-8201, and remember to mute your radio or TV. Were there any written communications on this matter?
No, ma'am.
Thank you. Seeing no calls or additional in-room commentary, we will close the public comment on item 6 and bring it back to council for discussion or motion. Councilmember Mosby.
Make the motion to approve.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Seeing none, let's vote. And that passes 5-0. Item number 7, introduction of ordinance number 1675(20), prohibiting the sale and release of metallized balloons. And we have our city attorney to present again.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and Council. This item is also a council request from a prior city council meeting. And this is regarding potential regulation of the sale and release of metallized, including Mylar balloons. As the council knows, and some of the public may know, these balloons that are made of metallized materials that are often sold at party stores and the like, they do conduct electricity. And they are a safety hazard if they are released into the air and they're filled with helium or some other gas lighter than air. Because if they come into contact with power lines or the equipment on power poles, they can cause power outages, explosions, down power lines, and damage city utility infrastructure. And this has occurred several times in the past few months here in Lompoc. I have 3 there listed in the staff report where the power has gone out for a number of hours, one time almost an entire day, because of metallized balloons coming into contact with our power lines and power poles. In addition to these 3 times, in talking with the utility department, the electric department, it's almost once every 2 weeks that our electric department has to go out and remove balloons that have been caught up in the power lines, even if they have not yet caused a power outage. So the request from council was to come back with this agenda item on what could be done to potentially prohibit or regulate, what the options are for dealing with the sale and release of these types of balloons. So we do have a draft ordinance that's in the staff report tonight. What the draft ordinance does is it bans the sale of metallized balloons, basically balloons made out of any material that conducts electricity within the city. It would prohibit the sale whether they are sold individually or they are sold as part of a packaged product set, as in attached to a flower arrangement, or if it was simply just a pack of metallized balloons that are packaged and not even filled with air yet. All of that would be prohibited under the proposed draft ordinance before you tonight. And the second thing that the ordinance does is that it prohibits the release of metallized balloons by any person, whether it be at a private party or any person walking down the sidewalk, if you will. There are already 2 state laws that apply to metallized balloons. The first one is in the penal code, and it makes it a crime to release any metallized balloon that is filled with a gas lighter than air as part of a public or civic event, a promotional activity, or a product advertisement. So it's only those 3 specific types of events where releasing balloons is prohibited by state law. Public or civic events, promotional activities, or product advertisements. Anything else, any other kind of release, a release at a different place, is not prohibited by state law, and that's where our ordinance would come in. Also, there's a state law in the Business and Professions Code that requires that any balloon made of metallic material, if it's sold at the store, needs to have a weight attached to the bottom of the string, usually, so that the balloon cannot just float away. And I think we've all seen these little weights before that are tied on to the bottom of the string, these balloons. That is actually required by state law for any balloon that is sold in the store. The balloons under state law also have to be marked by the manufacturer with a consumer warning that says that it is dangerous if the balloon is released and comes into contact with electrical power lines. There are already 2 cities that we could find in our research that have banned the sale of metallized balloons at the time of the writing of the staff report, Manhattan Beach and Hermosa Beach. And after the staff report was written, an additional city, the city of Glendale, has adopted a ban on the sale of these types of balloons. So again, the staff recommendation is to consider whether you want to adopt this type of ordinance or direct staff on any modifications, and I'm available for questions.
Councilmember Cordova.
City Attorney, how do you plan on enforcing this ordinance?
We would likely enforce this through the administrative fines section of our municipal code, so we wouldn't be arresting people or giving them a criminal court date, which we could do because they're infractions, but I think likely the staff would enforce using administrative citations, and those are $25 for the first violation, $100 for the second violation within a year, and $500 for a third violation within a year.
Okay. And when you say staff, presumably then we have staff to actually go out and, I'm assuming like fireworks, somebody has to see somebody release the balloon in order for it to, for that person to be fined, an administrative fine, is that correct?
There would need to be evidence, yeah, that the enforcement officer would either need to see it or they would need to have substantial testimonial evidence from someone who saw it.
And where would the enforcement officer come from?
I'm going to address that question to the city manager.
Thank you, Mayor and Council Member Cordova. That is a good question. We would have to look at staff. I'd have to see who is available. We do have limited staff throughout, as we know, so it depends where it was. If it was a group event we were to know that was going on, we might see if we could run a staff member, if we can pull one aside and have them go out if it's a large event. But it would be difficult As an example, say during graduation, if everyone had a balloon, they let it go in the stadium at Houck Stadium. I don't know how we would handle that one, but we would try and, my idea was, or discussion with the city attorney was, we trying to educate the shop owners, and even to the point where the city could actually create a pamphlet or some kind of an educational piece we can give to the shop owners that they in turn would need to copy and give out to the people that buy the balloons. But it would be difficult to find enough staff to go out and try and track down people.
But that's not what the ordinance is proposing. The ordinance is proposing that we actually go out and find people and that we take on, the elimination of these balloons, which I don't have a problem with that. I'm just wondering how we're going to do that. I sure do hope when we say staff that we don't mean we're going to send our police department and our fire department or our administrative staff to go find these people and then fine them for what they're doing. I guess that would be a job for code enforcement.
Councilmember Vega.
I believe this is a proposal that's unenforceable, as Councilwoman Cordova stated. It's not something we should adopt. I think it's the education and approaching the business owners on possibly putting some sort of literature or warning to say these are not to be released. They seem like they're already coming with anchors, and we just need to have a warning and let people know that it's not acceptable to release these things, because there is a liability there. But I think aside from banning things, I'm not an advocate for banning things. We have fireworks. We have other things that are also safety hazards. So I think that education and moving forward with some literature would be more appropriate and give the business owners a chance to maintain their inventory for sales.
Any other questions? Councilmember Starbuck.
Yeah, I think personally, in my opinion, I'm going to kind of align with everybody on the dais so far and say, maybe if we just aligned our ordinance with the state law and, bring it out to the people that sell. I mean, there's very few, florists, Vons, party shop, et cetera, and just say, hey, help us out here, because it is true. You drive by, you see balloons hanging on lines. I've seen them personally hit lines. So it's a problem, but it's an unenforceable, but still, it's not that big of a deal, I don't think, if we were to adopt a resolution that was in alignment with the state laws. And like you say, we just did a little outreach to the people that sell them.
Councilmember Mosby.
Does the fire department still do annual inspections on businesses?
Yes, but I know Brian's. Yes, I have a nod.
So, there's one component. What I kind of found out doing some research, the reason why I brought this up is on one of the forums, one of the people in the electrical department saying this is happening quite often. And they're putting their life in jeopardy. I too have seen them hit the lines and cause fires. And I think 6 months ago we had a fire somewhere that was started from a balloon. It was in the manager's report one time written here recently. It's my concern of that, not only are we putting people's life at line when they're climbing up there and having to untangle these things, but people are being massively inconvenienced when the power is out for a significant amount of time. So I think a lot of it is the educational aspect. What I'm finding out is some of the stores are selling them and they don't have weights on them. An advisory aspect, I imagine, when they do the inspection and making sure that this is one of the items there. But if we don't have something on a list that says you can't release them, then if somebody does, you can't get them a ticket. And our code enforcement was not proactive, it was reactive on complaint base anyways. So this could actually work on that aspect. Nobody's going to be walking around, driving around. But if you don't have a code that says year-round you can't release these, then your hands are tied when something does happen and you do happen to see the case. Does that sound like a logical statement as far as making it more of a longer term?
It is true that if we don't have a law in the books to enforce, then we can't do anything about it if someone releases them.
And I think the educational aspect, without a doubt, is important of what's going on. It's dangerous. I like I said, again, I saw one hit something and then melted, landed on the ground. Fortunately, I had a shovel in order to put the fire out, or it would have gone. So there is an issue with them turning a blind eye to it and doing nothing is not going to solve it, without a doubt. I think in seeing some of the public comment letters that we received, didn't realize what a significant portion of people's revenue. I don't know if, did you see yeah, I mean, it's a significant part of people's lives, but again, you know, I do definitely support an educational aspect to it, but again, if we don't have, you know, the ordinance covering that, you know, extending the state law and the release of these to a longer time frame, then it doesn't do anything.
To that question, it's state law. State law exists 24/7. Why would we need a local ordinance extending it longer? If it's already state law and we must follow state law, why isn't it considered on the books and enforceable?
The state law with regard to releasing metallized balloons, it only prohibits releasing them at public or civic events or at promotional activities or at product advertisements. So any other kind of event or any other time or place.
So we're going to attempt to patrol and tell people walking down the street not to release the Mylar balloon they have in their hand. I mean, that's what we're proposing, is even if we don't do an outright ban, we're adding the number of times it's going to become illegal to have released a balloon that we once again can't truly enforce because it requires witness, is what you're saying our additional level is going above and beyond the state by saying any and all releases at any and all areas for any reason is now inappropriate.
That is
illegal.
That's what the draft ordinance says, yes.
Okay. Councilmember Vega.
Again, I see it unenforceable. I see that state law has already addressed the concerns, and after listening to what state law actually addresses, I think I would be more of an advocate of just sticking with state law instead of making a more stringent ordinance that's unenforceable. I think it's just it's normal business. They are sold with anchors, and you can't enforce it because people are going to be going in and out of town, and they're going to be bringing them from someplace else. They're going to go to Santa Maria. They're going to bring something back, and they're going to have a party here at the park, and they're not going to know they're doing something wrong. So I would also advocate that we stick with state law instead of making something more stringent that it's unenforceable.
Councilmember Cordova.
I do understand the severity of the issue. I just have an issue with the fact that we would be creating another ordinance that we cannot enforce because we don't have a body to enforce it. And I just think that that's part of the inconsistencies that we tend to create in the city. We just had public comment with someone that said all the trash that's littering our streets. Well, if we had code enforcement, we could potentially go out and actually do something about that. But because we don't have that either, we can't fix that problem either.
Any more questions for staff before we open for public comment? Councilmember Starbuck.
It's not a question of staff, but I'm going to kind of mention that I'll digress back to shopping carts. We fought that battle forever up here. It's right in the Business and Professions Code, and we still ignored it. We fought it. We've got a huge ordinance on the books with shopping carts. For a 4-1 vote, it's there. It's not enforced. And I see this going down the same path.
Seeing no more questions or comments from council, we will open it to public comment. The number to call is 805-875-8201, 805-875-8201, and remember to mute your radio or TV. You will have 3 minutes, and we will start with in-room commentary.
Good evening again, Council. John Lynn, Lompoc resident. Let me give you a little good news. This is not the first time we've gone down this road, and I didn't go dig for it, but I think it was 2011. We were having exactly the same problem, and we did what has been widely suggested here. We had a little education campaign for the shops that produce these balloons. And we provided them with a copy of the state law that said if you don't put a weight on it, it's illegal. But what I hear tonight is another good idea, which would be for the city electric department to produce a little brochure that can be given to the merchants that sell these Mylar balloons, and they can tape it on the string of each one that they sell. And if we remind them that it's a violation of state law to not put a weight on it, which we did last time, and it seemed to kind of bring it back under control, you know, if you give people a reminder, they want to do the right thing. If you tell them that it's created multiple times that the electric department has to go out and get them off the lines, and that 3 times it's turned people's power off, I think that'll reach home. And from my personal experience, you know, backpacking with the Boy Scouts, we've probably picked up 1,000 of these things out in the wilderness. Now, the kids like to use them for hot air balloons over campfires, but it'd be a lot better if we didn't find them because they do present a risk. Thank you so much.
Thank you. 805-875-8201, 805-875-8201. Remember to mute your radio or TV. Did we have any written communications on this?
Yes, ma'am. You had 3 public comments on this item, one from Warren Keller, one from Annette from Just Two Sweets Events, and one from John Keth of the Party Shop, all in opposition of this item.
Thank you.
Welcome.
And last call for call-in, 805-875-8201, 805-875-8201. And remember to mute your radio or TV. Seeing no one call and no additional in-room commentary, we will close public comment on this item and bring it back to council for discussion. Councilmember Cordova.
So I would not be in favor, obviously, of passing this just because I don't feel that it's enforceable. I think that enough ideas were provided, whereas if we instead provide for the educational piece and a little bit of information handed out when the balloon is purchased, that would be helpful. That would be my motion, is that we provide an educational component to our vendors, our local vendors, and that we provide also an educational piece to anybody buying it, and that we reinforce the fact that state law requires them to have the weight on the balloon, as well as reinforce the state law where it does not allow for the release of the balloon in the designated incidents that the city attorney provided for us as examples. That would be my motion.
Councilmember Vega.
Yeah, and I'd second that motion, and I think that was an excellent comment from the public speaker about having the electrical department possibly or participate in that educational aspect of it and provide some information and let them know that it is a hazard and to maintain the weight that's on it during the sale so that the customers can also see it also. So that's my second.
It's been moved and seconded. I don't know that it will need an addendum to your motion, but might I also suggest we do a informational insert in our utility bills to inform the public of the issues. It's another way to reach, and maybe the electrical department might like to do a short video about what releasing a Mylar balloon does and its impacts, and we could share that via our city website and our social media site so that it gets out in multiple avenues. So we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Seeing none, let's vote. And that passes 5-0. Do we have any additional written communications this evening?
No, ma'am.
The final oral communications of the evening is open. You have 2 minutes maximum. The number to call is 805-875-8201, 805-875-8201. And remember to mute your radio or TV. The floor is now open in council. 2 minutes for oral communication. Seeing no one call or rise in the room, we will close the final oral communication for the evening and come back to council comments and meeting reports. And we will begin with Councilmember Vega.
This last Saturday, I participated in a cleanup of the Caltrans right-of-way up at the drive-in and across the street at the airport. And we had so many volunteers here from kids from Cabrillo High School, Lompoc High School, business community, and the beautification committee. And I'd like to thank everybody for participating. It looks so beautiful out there now. And you know, it started as a request from the landowner out at the drive-in area because there was a Caltrans right-of-way area, and there was kind of a little bit of a communication disconnect here, whether Caltrans would assist in cleaning, and per COVID and all this, you know, Adopt a Highway has been kind of put a little bit on hold because of concerns. He did send me a message thanking everyone that participated in helping clean up. He has some family with health issues out there, and he couldn't participate as he has gotten older, and he did have some health issues. And I would like to express my condolences to Mr. Calvert because his son did pass away this last week, and he was sincerely really appreciative that everybody came out to help clean the highway on both sides of the freeway and in parts of the drive-in area so that it would look good on the entrance of the city. And we'll do it again. So thank you.
Councilmember Cordova.
Likewise, I want to say thank you to the volunteers that went out and cleaned up that area. That is a part of District 1, and so I'm very grateful for that. I had reached out in the past and to our city manager and trying to figure out a way to clean up that area as it's a main corridor into Lompoc. But it's not just that area. There's a lot of areas through town. And some areas, there are some issues with regards to whether it sits within the city limits or outside the city limits, and there's always, you know, an issue with that. But even within our community, I think the people, the volunteers that go out and really care for our city and want to clean that up. And I just want to reinforce the need that we have for code enforcement to be able to maintain an appeal to this city, and it's just in the health and interest of our residents.
Councilmember Starbuck.
No reports.
Councilmember Mosby.
So I attended the SBCAG sub-regional meeting representing the city of Lompoc, as well as Air Pollution Control District, as well as the SBCAG full regional meeting, and where the new Missouri strategic plan was presented. And good news, the Robinson Bridge, using SHOP funds, delivery year has been moved up, of course tentatively, to fiscal year 27-28 from 34-35. So that's a significant advancement for Lompoc. I also attended the City of Lompoc Park Commission meeting, which those of people who are looking for items of moving forward, they are working on their 6-year capital improvement plan. I also, a little late, but it came to the Beautification Commission meeting of the City of Lompoc, as well as the Planning Commission meeting. I do have one item as a council request. As we were going through the zone code book, one of my objectives was to not make parcels to become legal non-conforming. What I've noticed is our zone code, what we did is we have a 2-acre minimum for business park parcels. And it looks like a majority of the parcels are quite a bit smaller than 2-acre minimums. A lot of them are in the 1-acre size. So with what we did, we made a lot of properties legal nonconforming, which makes more complications for properties, as we know before. That was one of, I think, a lot of the council's objective was to make sure that we weren't making people's properties legal nonconforming. But as we're bringing some items back in the zone code, this item can be one that come on there to bring back about business park and having them meet more of what our park parcel sizes are. My recommendation would be looking at a 1 acre business park, reducing it down from the 2 acre, so we didn't make all these properties legal nonconforming.
I'll second that.
I'll give a third.
We have a second and a third, so do you have enough direction?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. I attended the League of California Cities annual conference virtually all 3 days and voted as the alternate representing the city in the annual meeting. The result was still 4 individuals short, so it is just a recommendation, not a confirmed voted recommendation to the league from the league to Sacramento legislative on the issues. I attended the ongoing Santa Barbara County legislative calls, participated in the NCPA legislative lecture series, had the privilege of being invited out to Vandenberg Air Force Base for their Starbase ribbon cutting last week. This is a STEM program that is very special to be awarded, and I'm very excited that Vandenberg was awarded it. It's for all 5th graders in the Lompoc area schools. They are rolling it out as the first model with Manzanita, but as it goes on, every 5th grade class in the Lompoc School District will get an opportunity to participate in this unique DoD-funded STEM education program out on the base. So thank you for designating that and for the invitation to see the amazing classrooms that have been set up and designed. Last but not least, Halloween is coming up. Please consider participating safely. The public health order is recommending that it be smaller events that are socially distanced, such as neighborhood costume parades. If you're going to hand out candy, consider doing it in small pre-prepared bags that you just hand out or put on a table that's 6-foot distance and sit in your front yard to socialize, to keep the social distance. I know there are some trunk and treat events being planned that are socially distanced and trying to at least still have the experience, but also be respectful of the current COVID-19 pandemic. So please celebrate safely, and don't forget to vote on November 3rd. We will be adjourning until Lompoc City Council regular meeting at 6:30 p.m. on November 17th, 2020.